everyone. Buenos dias. Back on the bridge to Triana. I'm heading over to take a cooking class, which I'm very excited about. It's not only going to be my first time trying paella, but making paella. So, wish me luck. Couldn't ask for a nicer morning though. Not bad at all.
I like to pull the. Oh.
Hola a todos. Bienvenido a Seville. Welcome to Seville. I think it's day 11? Not really sure. Really got to start counting these days better. Or not, because obviously I'm having a great time. Right outside the cathedral, this Cathedral of Seville, and made me realize I haven't really done anything touristy lately. I haven't been up there. I want to climb that tower right there. Obviously, I want to go through the rest of the cathedral, Alcazar. There is the tobacco factory and the Library of the Americas. Lots to do. But I got plenty of time to do it. And what's interesting is what's been keeping me is I'm kind of trying to save that for like maybe a rainy day or, you know, kind of saving the best for last. And I thought the bells were going to go, but they just seem to be going one at a time tonight. Anyway, saving the best for last. And, you know, I wanted to integrate myself a little bit more. And some of the advice I was giving people earlier, and I was following my own advice, was as soon as you get into town, take a food tour, because they are practically history tours. They'll take you into the market. You'll be able to figure out how to feed yourself, how to go to the right places, all that. But for whatever reason, between I had some work stuff and the fact that I guess because of the cold, people were just like not going on these tours, so they kept canceling on me all last week. So it was interesting. But today I went and, before I get to that, I also noticed that what's been interesting is I've taken 2 food tours and now this cooking class, and I've probably drank the most alcohol I have in years, only because like I'm not a big drinker. But the only reason why I kept doing it was because they kept presenting me with these drinks that were like classic civilian drinks, right? And like trying orange wine. I was like, okay, you've got to do that. Vermouth. Oh, right, they're very known for that. And I can't remember. Oh, of course, the different, I'm going to call them sangrias, but they're not really sangrias. It's supposed to be better than sangrias, and one of them was really, really good. I have to get the name of that. And today, I figured, oh, that was it. Like I've tried all the alcoholic beverages, but as it turns out, I didn't try sherry and I didn't try actual sangria. And we even ended it with this like ice cream and champagne thing. Oh yeah, of course it's not champagne, it's cava. And so of course that is well known around here as well. Cava is the Spanish version of champagne or sparkling wine. You know, because it's not from the right, you know. And so yeah, they kept handing me these things that were, you know, typical Seville Spanish, drinks, and I was like, well, I got to try them. So I kept drinking. I don't know. Oh man, you know, yeah. So, you know, what can you do? Like I got to try them, right? And but today was the cooking class, and I've been looking forward to this forever, and because more than anything, if I'm being honest with you, I don't know how to feed myself in Spain. Like I'm trying to have like authentic Spanish meals, but I'm not really sure what that is, right? And paella is the big thing, right? And all the cooking classes are all about like cooking paella. It's like, okay, but you need a special dish for that, and or some knowledge on how to do that, and it's a whole process and everything, which of course I found out today, how to do that. But before that, it was like, well, you know what I want is a cooking, like an everyday Spanish person cooking class, not tapas, because tapas is like a treat, right? Like you go out for tapas. That's not what you're having on a Wednesday night, right? Unless you're going out on a Wednesday night, but you know what I mean. So yeah, I've been looking at the seafood and thinking, oh, like what are the local recipes and stuff? And I haven't been able to find anything quite yet. So that's why I was hoping to find like a cooking class, but in particular like a, you know, everyday typical Sicilian, or not Sicilian, Sevillian cooking class. And most people just want to learn how to make paella. Well, they want to make they want to have paella made for them, for the most part. But you know, so I was really encouraged by being able to do that and being able to be introduced to the market again. And what was really cool is before the cooking class, we got to see the cooking classes in the Triana market. And so at first we got a tour of the market. Really smart too. They took us to different stands and talked about the specialties. And of course, they had on offer those specialties that you could buy. The smart shop owners had them prepackaged, and I have to tell you, I I, I took them up on their offers. You know, I went to the olive stand. I went to get sweet paprika, which I'll talk about in a second, and some other spices and some exotic fruit that I'm going to try, and all that. So after that, and learning a bit of the history of Spanish food and that, we got to cooking. And I'll tell you, we made spinach and garbanzo beans, chickpeas, and I didn't know how that was gonna work out. But I've had it 3 times now, 2 food tours, and now in the cooking class. And I have to tell you, the ones we made ourselves was the best. I don't know how much credit I can take for that, like none at all. But it was really, really good, and it's not something I would normally order at all. But I'm thinking I might try to make some, you know. And then we had this. Again, it's not gazpacho; it's a thicker cold soup. And I'm totally going to make this at home. It tastes like it kind of tastes a lot like really, really lemony hummus, but obviously not that thick. It's more like soup in texture. So good. And it's so simple to make too. You need a blender, but other than that, like, you know, so good. And of course, then we made it to the paella. And I got to tell you, I'm sitting there and I'm taking mental notes. They're going to send me recipes and all that stuff, but like I'm making mental notes, like, oh, why are we doing it this way? Why are we doing that? Because I'm really, really interested in this rice dish, you know. And we learned all about it, and we learned about you know, if you're ever in Spain, there's so first off, some secrets, right? Some things that Spanish people, in particular from Valencia, who they're the ones who invented paella. They're the ones who, you know, will tell you what's real paella and what's not. But first off, you're not supposed to put seafood in it. Paella is not about seafood, right? It is everywhere else. But apparently it's like fighting words, you know, suggesting you put what it was described as was the same as going up to an Italian and saying, "Hey, can we put pineapple on that pizza?" So just, you know, just so that you know that. But it's usually made with well, traditionally it's rabbit and snails, but that can be substituted for chicken, which is what we did. And we learned some cool techniques on cutting chicken and cooking the chicken in the paella. And the other thing to know, interesting fun fact, is that paella is actually the pan, right? That's what the dish is named after, is the pan that you make it in. So to say that the pan is a paella pan is kind of saying like it's a pan kind of thing, right? Interesting. You know, new knowledge. But the thing is that the techniques involve like how you use this pan. It's a flat pan to keep the heat very, very dispersed. And I was trying to ask a bunch of questions about like how you would do this in a regular pot and pan and all that. And he gave me some great instructions. But I got home and I looked at the Airbnb pots and pans, and I'm thinking, maybe not, you know. I found like a $12 paella pan and 12 euro. And I'm thinking I'm gonna indulge. I'll see how that works. If I can find it again, I'm gonna grab that, and maybe I'll try to make paella in the Airbnb apartment. Who knows? We'll see how that works out. It's either going to be awesome, learning a new skill, or completely disastrous, which hopefully that'll at least be entertaining. Right? But how does paella taste? Well, I gotta tell you, again, if I'm being perfectly honest, I think this is the first time I've had paella. I've always kind of avoided it. You know, it's like Spanish rice. Yeah, sure. You know, doesn't sound too appetizing. You know, um, and and the reason for that, I kind of figured out over the last couple of weeks as I'm thinking about like what I'm going to be eating in Seville and everything. And I had a flash memory just hit me, and I realized, you know why? It's because as a kid, we used to have quote unquote Spanish rice all the time, and it was disgusting. It was gross, and it like think rice-a-roni, but now think off-brand rice-a-roni, like made by some like German preservative company that you get at the local store. Maybe not even German, maybe like Czechoslovakian or Dutch or something. Like just like off-brand rice-a-roni, you know. And that's what. And I hate to throw my dad under the bus, but I think I don't think he would be too upset if I suggested that he wasn't like the most attentive cook, attention to details when it came to, you know, he was very much more like, that'll do, that's fine. Is that $1 cheaper? Yeah, it's fine, it's good, you know. And you know, again, I don't think he watches these videos, but if you are watching, Dad, like I apologize. You have a lot of other great qualities and skills, but the rice-a-roni stuff was just gross. And it was so bad too, because it was like, it was really starchy, really mushy, but at the same time still hard, if that's even possible. And it was all clumpy together, and it just, you know, it didn't taste, it tasted so bland, you know, like maybe a little bit of tomato-ness. That was it, right? And I hated rice-a-roni day. And I'm calling it rice-a-roni, but it wasn't, like I said, it's not brand rice-a-roni. So, here's the thing. My father and off-brand rice-a-roni, they poorly represented what, you know, Spanish rice was. Like, absolutely. I tried this, and it was amazing. And it was, oh, the spice combination, you know, Spanish, the Spanish cooking technique is very, very similar to what I learned in Italy last year, was the idea of like, don't put 100 ingredients in there trying to make it better. You know, get a few simple ingredients and get really good ingredients and do it well. That's what makes a great meal. And sure enough, that's exactly what it was. I couldn't believe it. As we were going through the process, I kept smelling and this amazing dish. And it really, it is very simple. Like the technique, I think you got to practice or whatever, but the recipe is very, very simple. Now, the other thing I discovered was I've been walking around the city, and I'd walk by a restaurant here and there, and I'd smell this smell, and it's become this like distinct smell that I can smell as I'm walking by these restaurants. And to me, it's like it became this is the smell of a restaurant in Seville. what is that? It's intoxicating. It's not quite what I would like, what I remember as like Latin American, and it's not quite Caribbean, and it's not quite like Indian, but there's that spice, that something spice in there. And so we when we were taking the tour of the market, the first thing they talked about was this sweet paprika. And as soon as they handed it to me and I smelt it, I was like, oh my God, that's what it is. And I was like, oh, I think I might want to get some of this and see if I can cook. And then as we were cooking, the first dish we made, we had to glaze onions, lots of nice olive oil on it, and then dumped a bunch of, well, like the saffron, and then a bunch of the sweet paprika in the middle. And as soon as I started cooking that up, like you know when you walk down the street and they're making those, they're sautéing the onions with butter and stuff, and you're like, oh my God, that's so enticing. It's the same kind of thing. Like it smells different, but it's that same like, oh, that is the essence of, you know, taste and smell and goodness. And it was like, oh my God, we're putting this in the rice? And it was so good. It was so good. And so, of course, as I said, I went right back to the spice market guy, and I was like, the dish. They told me sweet paprika, look for the blue label, specifically Spanish sweet paprika. And oh, I smelled it when I got home. I've been smelling it all evening, you know, and it's just like, I can't wait to do something with this spice. And I may, depending on how it goes over the next couple of days with me trying to feed myself with this paprika, but I'm starting to think it might be my new spice. Really, gonna try that and see how it goes. And I'm gonna just put it on anything. And I'm thinking that might be the mystery, like the missing link that I was having. Like, what am I making? Like, what am I making that's local? And how do I take advantage of the fresh seafood at the market? And now that I've figured out how to cook this Spanish rice, like the style of rice, it's kind of like risotto, like the actual rice itself, not the dish. But you know, it's kind of like risotto, but it's a little different. Anyway, I'm thinking I'm just gonna wing it. Olive oil, sweet paprika, some shrimp, maybe some calamari, maybe, you know, something, I don't know, whatever's at the market tomorrow. I'm gonna figure this out, and this is gonna be good. And I'm so energized again about cooking and figuring this all out. So I'm really looking forward to this. So I guess what I'm saying is, the lesson, when you come to a place and you're going to be here for a little while, go on a food tour. You'll walk through the history, you'll find things out, and the next thing to do is a cooking class, because you're going to pick that up and you're going to figure out, you know, the kinds of meals that you're going to make and the style that you can make them, and it's really energizing. You may not cook it as well as you're going to do while you're supervised by a professional chef. That's part of the problem, but I'm so excited right now. I can't wait. So with that, I should say, I hope everyone else is doing great back at home. I hear that it's going to be so cold over the next couple of days, and I'm so sorry, because it's just absolutely the perfect temperature over here. I'm doing fantastic, and I hope you're able to get on an adventure whenever you can, to see places like this and do these kinds of things and find out that Spanish rice is actually kind of tasty, despite what your childhood would suggest. So I will talk to everyone tomorrow. Hasta mañana. Have a great evening. Good night.
Me, I fall in love with you every single day. I just wanna tell you I am turning out.